Hello, I'm Rae Woolnough and I'm here to show you how to make some felted poppies. And I'm going to show you how to make a double layered poppy using wool roving and turning it into felt. So you'll obviously need red wool roving, green wool roving for your stems, black for the centre, and you may want to sew in a little yellow button as your yellow centre. Okay, let's get going. The first thing we need to do is to make our stems, and how you do that is you get a piece of green roving, and you can test it if you like by twisting it and seeing how thick it will be. That's a bit thick for these poppies, so I'm going to strip it lengthways and use half a length and probably half of that. Okay, I have a towel down and I have a piece of bubble wrap which you can see is about twice the size of my resist, which I'll explain later. And I also have some soap solution. You can see here I call mine Glug. It's half a cup of Lux soap flakes dissolved in some hot water. And you dissolve the flakes in the hot water, fill the container up with cold water and put it aside, and it becomes this soap solution which is great for felting. You'll also need some hot water. And you'll also need something to sprinkle your water on your fibres. Now, if you're a felter, you've probably got one of these, a browse ball. But if you're not a felter, you can always use something like an empty dishwashing liquid bottle, and that will do the same sort of thing. Also helpful is to have some scissors. Small pair of embroidery scissors is great. And if you're a felter again, you've possibly got this thing here which is called a palm board. If you don't have a palm board, you can use your hands, but they're helpful. Okay, so let's get started. So to make my stem, what I'm going to do is just lightly moisten the fibres here, but I'm going to keep one part dry. And if you want to, you can actually put that dry part off the edge of your bubble wrap on the towel. Put your hands parallel to the fibres and just begin rolling backwards and forwards. And what you're going to create is a cord. Now you don't want it too wet at this stage because it will flatten the fibres and it will make it hard to roll. But once you've got that cord started, turn your hands around and roll it this way. And you can also put your bubble wrap and use your bubble wrap. Now you need to roll this for a good 2 minutes. And what's going to happen is when you roll, you're going to agitate the fibres, they're going to shrink, and the felt or the cord will actually become quite firm. You can see this one's very floppy because I haven't rolled it, but for the sake of this video, I've prepared another one where I've rolled it for 2 minutes, and you can see it's much firmer and holding up even when it's wet. So I'll use that one later. Okay, let's get on to making the flower head. So what we have here is a resist. My resist is made out of bubble wrap, and you can see here that it's about 20 by 20 centimetres with a hole in the middle, and the hole in the middle is about 6 centimetres. Now the ideal size of your poppies is between 9 and 6 centimetres, and these ones here are about 7.5 or 8 centimetres, so that's a good size. So working on this resist will give you a poppy about this size. Okay, next you need your red wool roving, and you can buy this online from most felters or felting supplies, or spinners and weavers will generally have this available as well. If you buy 100 grams of wool roving, you probably need about 60 or 70 in the red, maybe about 30 in the green, and you need just a little bit of black for the centre of your poppy. Now if you've never laid out fibre before, it's quite simple. What you need to do is you just want to grab the very tips of the fibres here, and the best way is to grab it between the base of your thumb and your fingers, just grabbing the tips and pulling them out and letting them drop down. You can see that they're very spindly and fine this end, and there's more of a line that end. So what we're going to do is make a star shape with these fibres, with all of these scraggly end bits in the middle. You can see just very fine, because all of these fibres are all crossing over in the middle, which is what you need to create good quality felt. And also you can see that I'm making a circle, and that's good. But I'm also going to put the roving around the outside to help create a great edge. And each time I put one of these down, I'm going to cross it over at least 50% with the next one. So all the way around again. There we go. And that's created my circle for my poppy. And as you can see here, I'm just sort of pushing the fibres in and compacting them a bit. You look for spots, and I might just put a few light ones over the top here to connect it all together. Again, just push those fibres in. It will just give you a very nice edge to your poppy. And now I'm going to wet this down with warm soapy water. So I've put some of my glug into my hot water, and I'm just going to wet this out. And using my bubble wrap, cover it and push that moisture into the fibres. Wool likes to absorb moisture, but it actually repels water, so that's why you need your warm soapy water and a little bit of encouragement to wet the fibres down. Take that back, you can see it's nice and flat. Okay, and at this time I like to go around the edges here because the little fibres sneak out during the wetting out process. Push those in, again to help create a nice edge on my poppy. Next I'm going to take up my resist and put it over that, putting the hole in the middle of the fibres underneath. Have to dry your hands. It's good to have a little towel or a chamois close at hand to dry your hands, because wet fibres and laying out don't go well together. And we're going to repeat the same process. Around. Lots of layers make great felt. And again I'm going to go around the edge, laying each one of these shingles, I quite often call them, a fibre half over the one before. A little bit in the middle. And again I'm going to go around and try and compact this fibre in, away from the edge of the resist. It doesn't get tangled up with the one underneath. And again, I'm just going to wet that down. Now I'm going to, once I've wet that down, I'm going to put the decoration in the centre. Now for this particular poppy, I'm going to be putting black in the centre, but then I'll be sewing in a little yellow button as my centre. So take up some black roving, you only need a little bit of it. And this is when you need your scissors, and you're just going to cut off little lengths here, pretty even lengths, about 4 of those. You can see it's not a lot, and we're going to use this in the centre of our poppy. If you have a look at a Flanders poppy, you will find that they only have about 4 to 6 petals each, and this lovely little black centre. Okay, and again I'm going to wet that out a little bit. So again, sweep around and pick up these fibres. Make good edges. And again, put my bubble wrap over and press it down. So now I need to attach my stem to the back of my poppy, so put your hand underneath this whole package and flip it over. And carefully pull back your layer. So now you're looking at the back of the poppy. This is the stem that I made a little earlier, and I'm going to attach that to this. So I need to trim this a little bit. And fluff this out into sort of a circular shape. I'm going to pop that in the middle of my poppy and use my fingertips to tap all the way around, pushing the fibres into the fibres beneath. You can see they've changed colour because they're wet. If you spend about a minute or so here tapping around the base, you're doing two things. You're attaching the stem, but you're also encouraging the fibres between the two layers of the resists to attach to one another, because you need this centre part attached before you start to roll your felt. Spend a bit of time tapping here. You'll be surprised how long a minute is and how much tapping you'll get in a minute. But I won't bore you with that. Just lay your stem down, and during the actual rolling process it's a good idea to unroll it sometimes and move the stem. It won't felt, but it may just get caught in a little bit, so it's always a good idea to move it when you can. And now I'm going to roll the whole package up with the bubble wrap. Might move it up a little bit, down a little bit far, roll it up. It's a good idea to put it on a towel, a little hand towel, or in this case I've got a chamois. You can see the water's already coming out, and roll it up. Just makes it easier to roll. And now you need to roll this 200 times. And here's a tip. Always keep your hands and your wrists straight and roll with your arms rather than your hands. If you continually use your wrists up and down like that, you might actually end up with some sort of RSI, which isn't good for your felting career. And by doing that, you're only rolling half the package, whereas using your arms, you're rolling the whole package around. So you need to roll 200 times. And I always find if you put on a good song on the radio and roll to that, it's usually 2.5 to 3 minutes, and that's more than 200 rolls. So you need to roll it 200 rolls in that direction. You then need to unwrap the package, and you'll find that it's probably turned into a sort of an oval shape. You then need to pick up your package that's inside and turn it around through 90 degrees. So let's pretend I've rolled this up. Then have to pick this up and turn it through 90 degrees. And again, I'd move your tail and roll it up again and roll it again for another 200 times in the other direction. Now, for the sake of this video, I've actually pre-rolled one, and I'll take this one out and show you what we do from here on in. So this one's been rolled 200 times. I'll take that out. Okay, you can see here that it's already beginning to shrink, which is great. And there's my centre. Okay. It's still not quite there, it needs more work. So at this stage I can remove the resist, and I always suggest that when you're removing the resist that you do hold on to the middle there so you don't accidentally pull the two layers apart. So remove your resist, and now we're going to work our flower and make it smaller. It's quite large at this stage, and we've got to shrink it down to about this size. So you may want to put a little bit more soap solution on here. It's pretty revolting looking stuff. That's probably a bit more than I need, but that's all right. And at this stage, this is well and truly attached, so you can start to shape your flower. And you just start to roll it around in your hands and work it. And I would work it for another good 3 or 4 minutes. We can knead it. And it also helps if you dip it into some warm water, because during this process the water will have cooled down. So I'll show you one that I've been working on for about 5 or 10 minutes, and you can see that it shrunk quite considerably. So just rolling it around like that. I also spent a little bit of time rubbing it on the bubble wrap, and as you can see now how much it has shrunk. So now you can spend time actually shaping your flower, pulling the edges. If you've got any hairy bits, you might want to trim them off to make it nicer. Now, a Flanders poppy, as I said, normally has about 4 to 6 petals. So if you want to, you can actually cut in and turn this into a Flanders poppy, but it's up to you. And this is, you keep shaping it. Squeeze the water out. Now a good thing is to put it in a cup to dry, because a cup, or in this case a nice plastic wine glass, will help hold your poppy in shape as it dries, and you can push the edges over that. And then when you're finished, obviously you can put a pretty little yellow button in the middle of your flower.